Hi, everybody. This is SAAD for the SAAD Truth. In my public engagement, I'm privy to a wide range of human behaviors, many of which, luckily, are very wonderful behaviors. People exhibit humor and kindness and empathy and all sorts of other wonderful human qualities. But of course, at times, I'm exposed to behaviors that are reprehensible, callous, if not diabolical. And today I wanted to share an incident that began yesterday to show some of these sort of more negative uh, instantiations of human nature. So I shared a photo of a young boy in Syria. I think he was a Palestinian little boy who was about to be butchered. I mean, he was about to be beheaded by a militia group. Apparently, he had been accused of being a spy, I think, for the Assad regime. And so I shared just a still photo as he was in the truck moments before he was about to be killed. And I shared that story, uh, if for no other reason than to express my anger, my anguish at not being able to save that boy. Uh, the reality that took place is one that is now a foregone conclusion, and yet I somehow feel as though I had personally failed this little boy. And so I was sort of sharing my frustration at this diabolical evil that could exist. And those sentiments, of course, were triggered in me without any concern as to the boy's religion. Undoubtedly, he was a Muslim little boy. I don't care about his ethnicity or his nationality. I think he was a Palestinian boy. I don't care about his skin color. All I care about is that there was this little boy who could have been any of our little boys who was about to suffer a astonishingly barbaric death. And so I was angry about it, and so I shared the photo. That's it, period. Nothing else to add. Now, incredibly, well, first of all, most people responded appropriately to the photo. They were horrified, they were angry, they were upset, uh, all of the things that you would expect people to feel when exposed to such a tragic reality. But I'd like to discuss today two instances of people who did not respond in this manner. In one case, a woman who I think described herself in her bio as a hippie uh, publicly questioned my motivation in sharing such a photo. What is it that you are hoping to achieve by sharing such a photo? What's the point of doing this? How does this unite people? Right? So she was somehow upset that I had burst her safe space. She was very, very upset and triggered by the fact of having to be exposed to such a photo. Incidentally, she's not one of my followers, but I guess through some thread she came across the photo. Now, that is grotesque on several fronts. I mean, first of all, think about the implications of what she is uh, espousing here, right? I mean, we shouldn't share horrible realities lest it might get people upset because it doesn't allow people to unite, right? Okay, so no, let's not discuss the Holocaust, let's not discuss World War II, let's not discuss the daily carnage that happens all around the world, because what purpose does this serve? Well, there's this little thing that I like to call the news, and that's why we share these things, because people like to be informed about the realities around them. So this was a perfect manifestation of an ostrich, right? She holds a unique position in the ostrich brigade, right? I mean, don't tell me about this dreadful reality. So her first response is not to be horrified and angered by these monsters who are about to behead a little boy, but rather it was to attack me, to question my motives in talking about those who are about to behead a little boy. So, I mean, you don't have to be a sophisticated moral ethicist to proclaim that her moral compass could not be any more broken. And now let's move on to a second person. This is a follower on my public Facebook page who somehow manages to link every single thing that I talk about to his vegan activism. If I talk about Messi, oh yeah, but what about those poor animals? If I talk about my dog, oh, you love your dog, but what about those poor animals? If I talk about it's sunny outside, oh, right, so you're going to go outside in the sun. What about those lab animals that are not seeing the sun? Now, don't get me wrong. There is nothing that I abhor more in life than animal cruelty. It is absolutely the number one thing that crushes my soul. Now, that doesn't mean that that reality does not hold true, while at the same time, I don't only eat tofu. Okay? But the world is a messy world, meaning that you can't expect necessarily people who love animals to all become cereal and tofu eaters. But that discussion is for another time. What I wanted to talk about today is this gentleman's callousness when it comes to how he responded to my posting a photo of this little boy. So, by the way, this gentleman and another gentleman did the same thing, although this guy was a bit more assiduous in his vegan activism. So I post a photo of this little boy who's about to be butchered, and this vegan activist takes this opportunity to draw a parallel. Oh, so this upsets you that this guy is going to be butchered, but yet you're completely quiet about, other sentient beings who are about to be butchered. To which I've engaged him now for 2 days. Certainly my fault to even do such a thing, but I tried to engage him to try to explain to him that there's a place and time for everything, and that we can certainly have a valuable conversation about the ethics of eating animals, the ethics of how we treat our animals who are part of the food chain. And this is all a conversation that is certainly worthy to have. And I'm the first to support countless ways by which we can improve the treatment of our animal cousins. But my point was that it was the definition of callousness to not even take a moment to just honor the memory of this butchered child, but rather his dogmatic, his myopic view of the world through only the lens of his vegan activism did not allow him to offer an iota of empathy to this little boy. Right away he goes from, oh, so we have to feel bad for this little boy, but who cares about the sentient beings who are being slaughtered? This is the definition of an immoral person. My point is not to denigrate this gentleman, because I know that his heart is in the right place. He wishes to protect our animal cousins, and I get that. But again, it shows you what happens when people become singularly focused in their activism pursuits to one issue, and then everything in the world is only viewed through that prism. There's another group of people, incidentally, who suffer from exactly this form of delusional thinking. Well, or maybe not delusional thinking, but rather obsessive thinking. And those are the so-called Israel haters. I've satirized this position in the past, where basically people will write to me in all sorts of vitriol that, hey, how come you're talking about Islam, yet I never hear you criticizing Israel, right? And so they can't focus on the daily, never-ending carnage that is being committed by the adherents of one particular ideology, because all that they see in the world is that Israel is the great, evil, diabolical, evil juice place. And therefore, hey, God, you woke up this morning and you brushed your teeth. What's happening? How come you're not criticizing Israel? And so this vegan activist is exactly the same guy, except that his focus is not on Israel, it's on vegan activism. So if I say to my wife, hi wife, I love you, he'll be in the background saying, well, wait a second, you love her, what about the animals? Hi, my children, happy birthday, my children. Oh, happy birthday, my children. What about the sentient beings that are being slaughtered? So this type of thinking is the definition of someone who has lost their moral compass, because they're unable to temper the manner in which they navigate through the world through the prism of multiple issues. Everything is boiled down to to their one pet topic. Forgive the pun. So there you have it, folks. Have a good Sunday. Talk to you soon. I can't wait for the vacation to start. I'm tired of these endless public engagements. Cheers.